Good day, everybody. Meteorologist Robert Spetty here with today's tropical storm Bebeng or Aere update here, located just over the Philippines right now, moving off towards the northwest at about 8 knots. We'll get into the specifics on the winds on it, but currently it is the 8th of May 2011, right around 1800 Philippine time. That's right around 10 Zulu for those of you worldwide here if you are watching this update. And we are continuing to track this tropical storm moving off towards the northwest. I do want to get into a damage assessment so far as of this time. Actually, 4 reports of deaths coming out of Camarines, and all due to landslides and massive flooding. Actually, in Balatan, there is reports of massive flooding. Roads are impossible in there, and all this is due to this basically rain bands consistently over much of Visayas and eastern Luzon right in here, as you can see depicted on this infrared imagery here, and some of these higher cloud tops right in here, just showing those higher amounts of precipitation here. Also, in another imagery with the enhanced IR here, just showing all these higher cloud tops in white and those high amount of precipitational areas. And this is the reason why we did see one of these landslides just coming out of Balatan here, and also reports of 4 deaths. Also, another report of an electrocution out in this region as well, bringing the whole total from open source here. So this is totally unconfirmed at this time, up to 5 at this time. So really just kind of sad news coming out of here. Also getting some videos in here, this one from FJN Medina here. Please click down in the link here in the bottom left if you want to check out the whole video. Some really good footage coming out of there as well of this storm. And also I encourage anybody else with on-the-ground footage of this storm to please upload it to YouTube. All those on-the-ground reports coming out of the Philippines right now are definitely more useful than any satellite picture would give anybody here. So just want to put that out there as well. Those reports are really great. And that one video that's on here, the only footage that I could find of the on-the-ground of the storm, is exceptionally useful. So I just want to put that out there as well. But looking at the current winds of tropical storm Bebeng here, 50 gusting up to 65 knots. That is per JTWC, or the Joint Typhoon Warning Center out of Pearl Harbor. It's moving off towards the northwest at 8 knots right now. Looking at a landfall at approximately 0300 Philippine Standard Time, and around Casiguran is where it's looking like it's going to make the second landfall here. We'll look at all the warnings in here in a minute, because there's 3 different agencies warning on this at the time. Landfall looks approximately the same time for each of them, but they differ slightly in the exact location here. But first, I do want to note on the streamline analysis here that it is going to continue to track off towards the north, and that's really why we're going to see that second landfall here, just west of the subtropical ridge, or the center of the Westpac High, shown out here on the streamline analysis, and also here on the surface chart from JMA here, actually, with the high over in this region here, and that entire ridging coming off over here. So basically, the storm is going to want to run towards the area of low pressure, and that is this troughing right in here, extending off of the stationary boundary south of Honshu here, and that's really where it's going to continue to move. Basically, as I always stated in my updates prior here, tropical storms are like water. They want to run downhill towards those areas of low pressure. So if you're new to watching this, that's basically one of my bare concepts in forecasting these storms, and it's really kind of a fail-safe and often accurate if you know how to look at these charts correctly here with the overall background flow. Also, I do want to note, though, once it crosses Luzon here, dropping a lot of precipitation here as it encounters the rugged terrain, it is expected to rapidly de-intensify due to a high amount of vertical wind shear indicated on this chart right in here, 30 to 40 knots. Now, that vertical wind shear is going to knock this storm over to the side and basically tear it apart, disrupting that warm core low process. Also noting, sea surface temperatures here in Luzon Strait are below 80 degrees Fahrenheit here, and really just taking away that latent heat on the surface of the out here. But first, going to be showing the warning from Pagasa here on this tropical storm, noting that much of Luzon is their signal number 1. That's including Metro Manila here. Going to be seeing some high winds beginning this afternoon in the evening. But knowing that Isabela and Casiguran as well, that basically the largest city up in this region here, under signal number 2, indicating winds of 60 to 100 kilometers at landfall here as well. So just want to note that as well. I do also want to note that this warning does differ slightly from JTWC as well, as they expect the landfall up in this region here. But this one's actually a little bit worse for that city of Casiguran as well, just noting that since it's going to be taking place towards the southwest, that puts them in the right front quadrant here. So a slight storm surge is very possible for the locations right up on the beach. Expecting a large surge out here, and really the biggest effect that's going to be coming out of this storm is the amount of rainfall. Actually, looking at one of the imageries here showing the overall flood potential at this time, with the already saturated soil out here is really kind of indicative of why we are seeing these landslides and these flooding and in much of the low-lying areas out here. And I'm still expecting this to continue to happen, especially once the system moves over land and starts to get torn apart over the mountains in Luzon here, as the orographic lifting could influence even increase precipitation out here. But JMA showing a little bit track farther towards the northeast than the other two warnings here as well, just noting landfall also expected overnight tonight here, and also going to be seeing some increased precipitation over Apari, the city up here on the northeastern portion of Luzon as well. But basically here the track is kind of persistent with JTWC as well, just noting that the storm will take place towards the northeast of Casiguran, kind of puts them in the left side, left quadrant of the storm here, and that's really kind of the safer side. And lastly, showing the warning from JTWC, they are expecting a max of 55 gusting up to 70 knots just prior to landfall here, really kind of persistent with JMA is saying as well here, just noting landfall right around 19 Zulu, that would be right around 0300 Philippine Standard Time here, and just noting this basically expecting these winds of 34 knots or greater extending far out from the core of the system here, and that is one main reason why Metro Manila and Quezon out in here are under that signal force number 1. But lastly, I also do want to mention, basically in the long range here, we are going to see that rapid de-intensification, but expecting some increased precipitation over much of Okinawa in the coming days on the 11th into the 12th, but I don't expect anything significant out here. Winds basically just kind of small craft conditions upwards of 20 to 30 knots expected over that region. But as for now, though, continuing to watch this track off towards the northwest, as stating, I do expect it to make landfall around Casiguran overnight tonight here. Also, I do want to mention one of the facts that you really don't see out here too much in the warnings is the threat of tornadic activity, especially in some of these outer rain bands. You can actually see one right in here, and I do expect some weak, very weak tornadoes to come on land here. And I do want to mention to some of the people that are watching this in those regions, in those outer rain bands, these tornadoes could be possibly very weak but very fast moving and also rain shrouded, and you do see these often with landfalling storms out here. So I just want to mention that as well. A lot of the open sources here really aren't covering that fact here, and some of those higher wind areas could cause some damage. But I think the main fact and the main threat, though, continues to be the flooding potential out here. Especially, actually, I see one really large area convection rate in here, and that's really going to cause some high amount of precipitation here along eastern Luzon as this continues to track off towards the northwest in the coming hours. So I would not be surprised at all to see some flooding reports coming out if you're of eastern Luzon, and even in Metro Manila and some of the low-lying areas and some of those areas that have some bad plumbing out in this region here and some bad runoff that could cause some flooding in some of the low-lying areas here in the metro areas. So I just want to mention that as well as we continue to see this tropical storm track off towards the northwest. But that is all for right now. Again, everybody, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, as usual, you can post them here on the YouTube channel or in the shout box at westernpacificweather.com. Also noting, I'm posting this at storm2k.org. Plenty of meteorological discussion going on there as well on this storm. But thanks again for listening. Stay safe out there, everybody, and I hope you have a safe night. Bye.